Let's go over the key points of the front squat exercise. So a general rule of thumb when setting up your squat station and adjusting the height of the J-pegs, you want to set the height to be at least as low as your underarm level, so below your shoulders. And the reason for this is when you start to squat and you get to heavier and heavier loads, you are not going to be standing as tall under load as you do when you're standing straight up. So a typical rule of thumb is set it up, always err on the side of caution and go lower if you're in doubt, because you always can squat it up to unrack it. But when you're getting tired, especially when you're walking forward and you're slightly bent, you don't want to be trying to place one side of the bar on at a time, or definitely don't want to be kind of trying to tiptoe, and it's the risk for missing the rack and also going off balance. So you want to make sure that you set the height accordingly. Always err on the side of being lower just to be cautious. If you're squatting with a partner, make sure that you have it set to the shortest person just so that everyone will be safe whenever they're squatting. So the first thing is that we want to make sure that we have a good rack position. The bar is resting on this shelf on top of your shoulders, and you are not physically holding up the bar with your hands and your wrists and your forearms. So you want to create this shelf by driving your elbows up and in. Yes, you do need some shoulder and wrist mobility. You need some external rotation, and you are going to hook your fingers on the bar and not grab it. The main thing is just don't let your elbows drop down, because if you weren't holding onto the bar, that's when the bar is going to roll off of your shoulders, and that's when you're physically having to use your wrist, your strength to keep the bar in place. If you don't have adequate range of motion, one, you need to work on that shoulder mobility to get your elbows up and in and have your fingertips still holding on or hooking the bar. And second thing is that if you can't do that right now, it's safer to create the shelf by just crossing your arms over the bar like this. And those are the two ways that you're going to rack the bar on your shoulders. Last things, just for demo purposes, I am facing the cameras, but you're always going to be facing the rack. Never ever squat facing outside and walk backwards to rack it. So get underneath the bar, create that shelf, bend your knees, and you are going to be nice and stable and stand up. From there, you are going to do your front squat. Now let's go over the key focus points of the squat exercise. So the first thing is, let's set up in a good starting position. For right now, for a basic squat, just to utilize more of your ankles and utilize your hips a little better, I don't want you to go super wide. You are going to have your feet pointing straight ahead for right now. Again, to facilitate more ankle work, ankle stability, feet pointing straight ahead. You are going to think tripod contact, good foot contact on the ground, pressing through the heel, ball of the big toe, ball of the little toe, nice and evenly. And from there, you want to make sure that you create tension throughout the movement, control the eccentric or going down phase, make sure you stay centered and push up nice and evenly as well. The second thing that I want you to focus on is bracing your core. Think, there's a lot of cues. Think if you are getting hit in the stomach. Think if you're pulling your abs and everything inwards to create that support and that stiffness in your core. And you want to maintain that throughout the exercise. Your breathing is going to play a key role in this as well. Take a big breath at the top. You want to hold it through the range, and you're not going to exhale under load until you're higher than a quarter squat position. So if you're squatting down, you're going to hold your breath. You're going to push back up. At the very top of the exercise, that's where you can exhale if needed, and always focus on taking the breath at the top of the exercise just to create more intra-abdominal pressure and to help facilitate that core stability that's needed. As far as feel, I want you to focus on two main things. Focus on using your lower body, keeping that core stiff, and make sure that you're sitting your hips down. You don't want to stop moving your hips and then just turning into kind of a good morning or a deadlift fashion. You want to make sure that you're sitting your hips down. Once you bottom out, then it's time to come up. Second thing is that I want you to focus on using both legs evenly, especially when it gets more challenging. You need to be aware and feel if you're favoring one side, if you're shifting, if you're rotating. You want to make sure both legs are doing its job to keep you centered and also going down nice and smooth and pushing back up nice and evenly. The last thing to be aware of is that if you don't have adequate ankle mobility, it's always a good idea to elevate your heels a little bit as you're working on your ankle mobility. This will just help you improve your squat mechanics and help you to strengthen in the right way because your heels are elevated. So again, you can step on plates. They even have heel wedges that are meant to elevate your heels. So these are the heel wedges here, right? You can put it down on the ground, and this will also help you to create better foot contact with the ground. And those are all of the key points for the front squat. I just want to emphasize again, it's more about how you're doing the squat than just going through the motion.